Hello, Ben. This is Dimitris for calling from Chicago and Metalkaoz. How are things on the other side of the pond?
Yeah, good. Well, see, so
Yeah,
it is what it is. But I
of
mean,
course.
for me, yeah, everything's pretty good.
That,
Yourself?
that's all that matters. Being in a personal level good, no
Yeah,
matter what it is,
exactly.
even if the world is burning around us.
Yeah,
Um, so let's talk about Unburier.
yeah,
Um,
let's do it.
it's interesting for me because the band has been releasing only EPs and some singles,
Yeah,
right? And you are unsigned, right? Independent.
yeah. So unsigned. mm, Yeah, kind of EPs have just been our way of kind of starting as a young band. It's quite difficult to go in with the full length, and it's been our goal to kind of for better or for worse, to be fair, but just to be able to release music and start of trying to just like get out, play some shows, and really kind of make a name for ourselves. Before the goal has always been the full length.
Mm.
There's been various reasons why we haven't done it yet, but which I'm sure we'll probably get into at some point. But yeah, it's been EPs, like I've said it before, but EPs are kind of like, in my view now, they're the new demo. Obviously, it's in a different form, but it's kind of like this is like our statement of like, this is what we want to do, this is what we're trying to play, get out, play shows, kind of build a bit of a name around ourselves. So when we do then do the full length, it will kind of hit hopefully how we want it to.
Do you also use the EPs in a way to finalize the band sound, or maybe experiment a little bit until you are happy with how you sound?
Yeah, definitely. And I think we've grown a lot even since our first releases, I'd say. And we've had like lineup changes, and granted we're all young. I'm 23, so,
Oh, geez.
and everyone around me is my age, a bit older. It's kind of been, this is us kind of finding our footing, trying to find a solid lineup. And I think now we are there, and I think we can look at what we've done so far, and it's given us the chance to kind of go, we love what we did here, and we love the elements of like this release. And then going forward, it's like we can kind of bring these elements all together and have what we'll be very happy with our first debut, is what we're, because you only get one debut, right?
Hmm. So, will you say that the way the songs in As Time Awaits is the way you kind of envision Unburied to sound? It's closer, at least.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is that each release is very much in my opinion, it's like a capture of where we were at that specific time as well, and
Of
like
course.
how you're listening to you've got different influences, you're listening to different bands, and like, I think you can really tell with As Time Awaits is that we were all really on like a very technical
Hmm.
kick. And it's, we've always been very, we've not, it's not like we've just all of a sudden become a technical band. It's just like every release has kind of pushed it a bit further. And I think now we've gotten to the point where we're like, right, this is cool, but also, let's bring back some of the more groovier elements, and let's try have more of like the ebb and flow. Because with an EP as well, you do get less chance to experiment, right? Because you've only got,
Correct.
a couple songs to kind of hit the mark. And it's like you're trying to market them as like kind of singles, I suppose. So it's kind of like we just wanted to have songs that kind of hit, as they are. Whereas with a full length, it will definitely give us more room to kind of expand further in ways that we probably wouldn't get the chance to if we kept doing EPs.
So the band has a new drummer, Kim Hughes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what did Kim bring or brings in the sound of Unburied?
Yeah. So, I mean, to start, like, Kim is, a phenomenal drummer. He's, in my opinion, one of the best, and that's why we asked him to be in the band. And obviously it helps that he's a good mate as well. But yeah, he definitely brought a very different flavor, because I think our old drummer was maybe a bit more old school, whereas Kim is very how do you say it? Kind of like more tech. He's very technically proficient and very studied, if you will, you know. And I think he brings a big element of like he's got that laser tight accuracy, and his feet are so fast, and it definitely allowed us on this last release as well to be like, you know, in this bit here we want the kicks to be this fast, and it's something we've never not allowed, but we've never been able to do before. So it's kind of like it allowed us to push in different ways, and he's definitely brought in a new dynamic and a new sound, because I think his approach is very different than our previous drummers. So it's been fun to kind of, I think it's really expanded our sound in a very different way, to be fair.
I hope you are not saying that the old school drummers cannot play fast, right?
Oh no, no. Old school is great, you know, and like, yeah, our old drummer rapid as well, you know, really fast. And like,
Okay.
because why he played, you know, our music, but Kim is extremely fast. That's what I mean. He's
Okay, okay. I'm
yeah,
just making sure because some
no,
people in this discussion are not 23.
no, yeah, no. But I mean, like, man, old school's the way, you know. Old school's,
There you go.
you
Yes.
know, that's what I listen to, you know. And it's like, granted, we are technical, but a big aim of ours is to try and cross over the gap of the old school influence and kind of bringing it into, you know, a bit. So we're trying to play like the old school riffs, but
Mhm.
kind of bring it into like more of a modern sense of, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, and I'm joking, of course. I didn't mean to sound like.
No, no, I get you. Yeah, it's all cool.
Um, so who did the production? Not the production. Who did the mixing and mastering for As Time Awaits?
So that was Sam Turbot, and he
Okay,
did Nebulous as well, which was EP before that. So
got
yeah,
it.
kind of went back to him. He's, you know, he's great in the UK as well. Kind of have that you know, that working relationship, because we've done something with him before. It was very easy to kind of go back to him and kind of improve on what we've done before.
Mhm. And I like that the press release gives some brief description about the lyrics.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
before going there, what is the connection between the lyrics of the three songs and the cover artwork?
So the artwork kind of ties mostly into abyssal uncertainty, which is
I
kind
knew
of like
it.
a,
I knew it.
yeah, 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 like a, you know, so it's obviously it's very metaphor, like a metaphor. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So kind of working yourself to death, essentially, you know, and kind of questioning, you know, why is this the way, pretty much, you know. And that kind of set the tone for, you know, we wanted to do the cave, and then we kind of really liked the idea of the eyes and
Mhm.
kind of all this stuff, and we went to um, this guy called Fernando, and you know, kind of just said to him like, we're looking at, you know, this, and we want like the cave and we want the eyes. And then he kind of came back with some rough sketches, and obviously in the cave as well I've got like the teeth and stuff like that, and the character kind of walking through, and that was kind of like, you know, that was the done deal. But yeah, that is the link, is the abyssal to that is kind of tying it all in, I'd like to think.
And I said I knew it because also the press release describes that the lyrics were inspired or referencing Albert Camus and, of course, my favorite, Lovecraft. So I
Yeah,
knew
yeah,
that this kind of there was some cosmic horror element there. But
yeah, definitely.
I like how you took the two. Those are a little bit different writers, right? And you
Yeah.
have combined, or you were influenced or inspired by them. So, how in your mind do you combine those two writers in the lyrics for Abyssal Uncertainty?
Well, I mean, I personally didn't. This is probably a question for Stan, so it's a shame he's
Oh,
not here. But so Stan, yeah, I mean, this was a big, obviously, before, you know, we were going into it. It was a big discussion in terms of kind of what we wanted to write about, and kind of, you know, we were dealing with kind of looking at like absurdism, really, and kind of reflection and stuff like that. And you know, we were all like reading up on these things. But you know, Stan is a big fan of, you know, sci-fi, and you know, obviously like Lovecraft and all that, and it's kind of like like a homage of all of those things kind of in one through, and it's not like we're not telling a Lovecraft story, right?
Oh, no,
But
no, I
it's
didn't
more
say,
of,
yeah.
yeah, no, I know that's not what you're saying, but it's kind of, no, do not stop. Um, yeah, it's just kind of bringing it all in together and all those influences, and I think, yeah, it came
So
out really cool.
Stan is writing,
Is yeah, bassist. So yeah, like he will come up with, we'll kind of get together and he'll have like a big batch of lyrics, and we'll
oh, okay.
go through them and kind of like change them, and work on patterns together and stuff like that, and that's kind of how that all comes together.
I assume, the easy assumption is the singer writes the lyrics, right? This is why I ask you.
Yeah,
I
no, for
didn't know
sure.
that
Yeah,
Stan was writing
yeah,
the
no, it's all
lyrics.
good. Yeah, it's
Um,
funny how that kind of came together. Like with vocals, it was never like my intention to be the vocalist of a band. It was kind of like
okay.
we needed a vocalist when we first started, and I kind of fell into it and just improved as time had gone on. But like for me, my interest is much more in like playing guitar, really.
So with just what you said, does it change how do you approach the songwriting simply because you will be singing too, or do you split the leads with Blake?
Yeah, so um there's definitely a thought of, how is this gonna I'm more wary about too many lyrics, right? Because there's an element of I don't want it to be too much, because obviously I'm doing a lot down here as well
Yep.
playing. So yeah, it's kind of just making sure that your patterns are kind of locking in with obviously rhythmically, because you know if you practice you can do it. If you're sitting there and you're playing along, it does sync up eventually, but there's a big element of like, let's if the riff is really technical, let's kind of lay back on the lyrics a bit,
Hmm.
and the patterns. And then, well, if it's a little more simple, you've got a lot more room to kind of really do more, I think.
So would you prefer if you got a singer, dedicated singer, and
Nah, I think I I'm happy the way it is. I think if you asked me that question a couple, 3 years ago, probably, but I think I've kind of just grown into the role, and I think I'm pretty content now. I feel like it works good.
what was the point when you said, you know what, I can do it?
Yeah, it's interesting because even when we recorded our last EP, I still, I was doing it, but it was still like, I don't know if I would still want to do this. But it was kind of the more shows we played, because for me a big thing was like technique,
Yeah.
and it was more like, I would be hurting my voice and stuff like that, and yeah, so it was a big change of kind of going out, playing more shows, kind of getting more used to just doing it. I think time really is, and I know it sounds stupid because I think some people were kind of they start doing it and they fall into the right technique straight away, right? But for me,
Mm.
I was trying to mimic people that I liked, like Chuck Schuldiner and Josh Middleton and kind of all these sorts of people in the same register. And yeah, and I think I just eventually, as time went on, just got better, and now I'm kind of like, yeah, this is what I do.
Yeah, because I imagine it's difficult to try to mimic a style. At some point, what you're describing is at some point, your vocal cords settled, and now you can have your own style.
Thing, yeah, and that
Mm.
that's such a good point, because you spend so long trying to sound like other people, but I think the more I just let it be me, is kind of like, and working as well, like within my range of what I've got. It's like, I do what I do, and I'm not trying to sound like anyone else really anymore.
There you go. It's exactly as the band sound, right? You start with more influences as you go along. The personal character
Comes through, yeah, definitely.
comes through. So What is the status right now? Are you working on another EP, or are you taking a break and then focus booking more so as many shows as you can?
Yeah, so I think we're going through a bit of a, it's a bit of a pivotal change for us right now because, finally we've got enough music out
Hmm.
where we're going to look at this headlines now as what we kind of want to be, getting on some support with bands, that are kind of the ones that we'd want to, be a part of, like the bigger bands coming through and stuff like that. And, we've had a good couple chances to do those. And, we've played with some of our peers and stuff like that, our mates bands that are kind of doing pretty good as well. So they've like taken us out. And yes, the goal really now for us is to get out and start playing headline shows and kind of try and just build our own audience,
Yeah.
because we've done really so far is a lot of supports, and it's nice to actually change things up and kind of like, just start small headlines and just keep doing them, keep coming back. And obviously all in the meantime, like the whole thing behind the EP anyway in the first place was that, and it didn't come out as quick as we'd hoped really, but the whole
Oh,
point
really?
was that, well, we finished recording this like it was all kind of wrapped up around last summer. So,
Oh, okay.
it's been a while, but the whole goal was that it would come out. We were hoping it would come out last, August, October, whatever, and then kind of, but it just didn't realign like that, which is fine. But so is to put a song out and then obviously have the gaps, and then and we still have been is working on the full length. That is the goal.
So do you imagine, or do you have you decided whether the next release will be the Unburier debut?
Yeah, it will be.
Oh, very interesting. And because, hopefully you will get a record deal and you will start releasing the EPs on vinyl, because I don't think you have done this.
Yeah, that's the thing is being an independent band, and that's kind of been the whole story really of this band is that we started off small,
Hmm.
and then it's almost like you're testing the product almost. You're going out and you're trying, and we obviously didn't have much money, so we're doing as much as we could, and every time pushing it a bit further, and then reinvesting back into the band to the point where now I believe that we're ready to kind of take the next big step, because we don't have the loads of contacts, and we don't have this, so it's been like a very steady building process of young guys that live in the middle of nowhere, just trying to
Hmm.
like just push the boat out. So really, yeah, I mean, we'd love to do everything. We'd love to do the EPs like as a compilation, maybe on vinyl kind of thing, and then do the full length. That's the big goal.
It's interesting to hear from a younger metalhead, a younger band, to have this, that, sometimes the younger generations want to have everything right now, right? Whereas
Yeah,
what I'm hearing from you is you understand how it's a painful process.
yeah.
There
I
is
mean,
no these days you cannot have this success in a with one EP or even with one
no,
song. So I appreciate
yeah,
it. I appreciate what you are describing, and how your band has how the band has been developing itself. So it's really important.
yeah, no, definitely. And it's something we think we pride ourselves on quite a lot is that we've done this on our own. I
Of
think is
course.
that we've really made through everything, through like members leaving, through mishaps with what have you. It's like
Of
we've
course.
always kept pushing on and kept trying to grow it in a way that is achievable, in a way that that because we're not funded by anything, it's like we're funding this ourselves. So it's
Yeah.
like we've got to be, as much as I would love to just go, yeah, let's do it all. It's like you can't, because it's almost not wise to, right? It's almost been like keep going a bit more every time, and then this time around we did our video and we did all
Mhm.
these things to kind of, which was more than we'd ever done previously. So it's kind of just like as you said, the process.
So you have one show, right? March 28th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, with Mithras.
And do you have other plans? Do you know if you are some other things are in the making?
Yeah, so there's kind of some stuff coming up that can't really talk about yet. This kind of, under wraps and kind of pushing and trying to make things happen, but fingers crossed. But
Absolutely.
we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Ben, thank you very much for your time. You know what? Let's hope to see Unburier crossing the Atlantic, right?
Yeah, no,
Being
definitely.
part of a huge bill, and you can grow your audience here. How about that?
Definitely, yeah. Sounds like a plan.
Thank you very much again, and
Perfect.
have a great rest of your evening.
Yeah, appreciate it. And you.
Bye bye.
Cheers. Thank you.